Hello, everybody. I just saw there's a chat. I'm Teresa. Happy to be with you today in this holiday, you know, the 10th of December. We were just talking before that there are 15 more days until Christmas, and I think Hanukkah falls on the same day this year, the first day. Um,
Yes.
so I think, yeah, right. So we are going to get in the festive spirit, and we're actually doing this. This is this sample is on canvas and it's acrylic paint. And we'll be painting this on Saturday out Will Library on paint. But today we're going to do a similar version of this, poinsettias, with oil pastel. If you have watercolor paint, you can use watercolor paint. If you have markers, you can go ahead and do markers. There's colored pencils. And if you have oil pastels, you can work along with me with drawing with oil pastel. Okay, and then poinsettias, and I have white pinkish ones and a red one, the plastic red one. Poinsettias are grown in Mexico and they're just typically the flower of December. And I thought that's what would be a kind of a festive appropriate still life for this season. So let's just start. I have an 11 by 14 paper. I'm going to turn my uh, screen so that you can see that. And when I do oil pastel, I don't draw with pencil. I draw with oil pastel. I'm going to use pink. I'm just going to adjust this too so it's not so bright. That works okay. If there's an issue with how it looks, let me know. Um, I'm going to use pink to draw. Oil pastel is very forgiving. It lets you cover itself. It does not, it's forgiving to itself. It doesn't forgive pencil. That's why we don't draw with pencil. So the way I have my example here, I like cropping off edges when I really focus in on, um, in this case, the two flowers. If you want to draw just one, you can do one big one. If you want to do more than one, you can do three or four smaller ones. The poinsettia leaves and petals of flower are similar, the shape and so on. So if you look at the, example here, the shape of the leaves is similar to the flower, just different colors. In the center are these gold little balls, orbs, the pollen and stamen and so on of the flower is typically that color. So those are the colors we're using. We have red. I have actually have three color greens. If you only have two or even just one, if you have white and yellow, you can adjust it. So I have greens. Here's a dark olive green that I will use because I have it. Use whatever you have in terms of your colors. Paint, you can mix whatever you need to. Colored pencil, to some extent, you can layer. We've done a couple of colored pencils here. Um, I have yellow to brighten the yellow here. I have an ochre yellow for the darker parts of the stamen and darker green. I like to use brown for shadows. I sometimes use purple for shadows. And then what I'm going to draw with is this pink. I would normally draw with maybe a yellow or light blue, but I want to make sure you see it. So I'm going to draw with pink. And my first step always is to lightly sketch out I should note for our painting class, I did create stencils. We're using paint, and so we can cover pencil with paint. In this case, we're using oil pastel. So we're just gonna draw. It's a fairly simple shape. It's on paper. We have an hour. And this is a good time to learn how to draw and plan and plot. So what I start with here, I'm going to start with using my example on how you do it. You can add more flowers if you want. I'm going to plot out where I want a little darker, where I want the bunch, the center, the stamen to be. And then I'm going to look and say, I want my second one here. And I think for the purposes of this demo here, I'm going to crop out the flowers even more than I have in my example. Okay. And then I draw the petals first. I'm going to just draw. This is a five pointed um, five petal what do you call it, poinsettia. So I'm going to draw them out, radiating from the center. And this, what I call this is we're drawing the skeleton. If you think of drawing a human body, obviously you have the skeleton before you can draw the muscles and the skin. I like to think of drawing anything that way, whether it's a vase. Um, we're doing leaves in my freshman class. So leaves have skeletons. In this case, the skeleton here is going to be the poinsettia. So if I start off with the planning it out, the wire frame, then I know that I'll be able to fit everything. So when I draw, I don't draw this way. That's continuous line drawing. Whether it's drawing with pencil or with, in this case, oil pastel, I'm going to plan out where I want my drawing. Everything else can kind of fall into place after, but I need to get the basic shapes in to make sure it fits. This just does two things. It plots out my position, which is part of composition, and it plots out the size of my objects. Now I can spend a little more time and do the actual drawing. The poinsettia have veins inside the uh, petals and the leaves. I'm going to just quickly kind of plot them in. They get finalized at the end anyway, but this will help me determine my points in the poinsettia. Just roughly put them in. And that can always change, but at least I have an idea of how many points my petals will have. Okay, and now I can start drawing. So they come out from the center here, thinner, and then there's a point. I'm going to press a little hard so you can see another point. I'll put another one here, and then it has the tip. Okay, and I'm going to do that for all of them. And put in the tip. This I want as my red one, and this one I want as my white or slightly pink one. Same process. And then the next one starts off narrow as a taper, and this one's going to be cropped off. So don't try to fit it unless you want to fit them in there. I'm focusing in, so I want them to be cropped out. And I'm sort of putting it where the points are. This one I'm going to have behind, a little more natural with this. Again, I used templates. I made stencils for the group on Saturday. Here we're just drawing. So I'm going to have this one behind it. It's a little bit more organic, less stylized. And then with the points, same thing, and then in. Okay. And we'll be covering that center with a golden, orbs in the middle. But we can do that because oil pastel will cover it. This one I'm going to keep the petal in instead of having that cropped out. I already have two of them cropped out. And then in. Point that in. Another one here. Okay. And then we're going to repeat. I'm going to actually switch to a lighter peach color here just because I want to not have it too dark. I do want like a lighter color. So hopefully you can see that. It's the same process. I'm doing the points where I roughly put I'm going to have this one popped out. Put that point out. You know what? I just changed my mind. I want it in. I like it curving in here towards this. This one I'm going to have cropped out. Okay, last petal. Point. There we go. So I'm going to close up so you can see it. Block with the. Now I'm going to plot in my leaves, and I'm using a lighter green. You can also use a yellow and Same thing with my main stem, and they look similar. So I'm going to just draw some in. Might add some leaves afterwards. I don't know. I want to see how it looks. I think I'll put a leaf in here. Here. That leaf's going to get popped out. Probably this leaf too. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing I did, but behind, because the leaves are behind. And then just draw them in. You're not going to really see the base of the leaves. They're being covered by the petals. You want to put a petal here, popped out. I mean, a leaf, not a petal. Here's a leaf, popped. It's covered by going to be covered by the white one. Most of the work is going to be coloring it. Here, I'm just plotting out my composition. And you can see a bit of a base here. I think I'll have this point out this way. A little bit of variety. This is going to be popped out. Okay. Oops, I have these. Let's get those. My mother used to buy poinsettias all the time, and then you can keep them blooming if you put them in the dark in the closet. I don't know if any of you get them and continue, because you can keep them blooming. There's a trick to it. I have cats too, so she had a cat too, but she put it up higher. Um, I think poinsettias and cats don't mix. It's not good for them. All right, now I'm going to start adding my color. I'm going to do the gold center last. So now you're just basically coloring. Going to outline first so you really crisp up your edges, and then color. If you like those Zen coloring books, this is your wheelhouse. When I color though, I tell my students this all the time, what determines my stroke is the object, the leaf, so that my stroke is going to follow the curve of the leaves. So I don't have anything horizontal or vertical here because my leaf is not made up of horizontal and vertical. It's made up of this organic swooping shape. All the shapes are swooping, curved. So that's what my stroke will be like. It's nothing I mean, I guess they're geometric, but they're not, there's no straight lines in this. Maybe the veins are sort of straight, but even they have a curve to them. So my strokes are all curved. And as you can see, there's like a process here. You start off, layer colors. The time to clean up your edges, finalize the contours. So that's my first layer of red. You can use yellow. I want to get this is where you're pretty aggressive here. You're the boss of the oil pastel. You're the boss of the paper. You can move that oil pastel around. I'm pushing right into my red and making those telltale little, that's stuck inside the oil pastel. So even though I already put some red there, I'm using that red with this yellow, and it's helping me shade those balls and make them look 3D. And I'm displacing the red that's underneath, moving it around. When I say that oil pastel is forgiving, that's what I mean. And I put in my balls, my stamen, the now use a darker, I have a darker, use orange if you don't have the ochre. I'm just outlining them, defining them a little bit more. You can even go, because the opposite of orange is purple, you can go real dramatic and give just the bottoms, say the light's coming to the top, a little bit of dimensionality by make them look 3D by giving them um, a darker, so they look like little spheres, and then I blend them with that yellow. And then finally, before I get back to my petals, with white, push a little dot of white on each one. So we almost achieve what we did with the paint with just oil pastel. That gives that little highlight. I'm literally just pushing the white in there, twisting it, and forcing a piece of it to come off and do the highlight. Okay. Now that ball of, that stamen, the center of the poinsettia is casting a shadow underneath. So with my green, and why am I using green? I always test my students with this. Red and green are complementary colors. So if I put green on that red and then mix it with the red after, it'll automatically turn into shadow. And it helps those balls or pop out. And it just adds some jewel-like color to the composition, to your art. I'm also putting in my veins with green. Following the curve. To get the point at the end, you just lift up the oil pastel. I'm going to go back with my red and go right over that and darken it, blend it right in. So it doesn't just look like a green line. It looks like a shadow that, with the vein, the indent in the vein of the flower. And you can do that with all of them. If anyone has questions as we're working, just call them out. I can't check the chat. So I'm also pulling this green out into the outside edges of the petal. Now I'm going to use that pink I started with. You can also use white, and I'm going to blend. You don't really, with oil pastel, you don't want to see the paper underneath. You're blending it all out. So hopefully you see that. Taking the red, cleaning it up and blending it all out. So there's no white texture. And that makes it look more realistic. It gives a dimension. And I'm going to do that to all of them. See how I'm going in between the vein that helps define the vein more. Same thing, I'm not doing vertical or horizontal strokes. I'm doing strokes that match the stroke, the shape of the petal. So this is just we're going to be watching me do this for all of them. Hopefully doing them yourself. One thing that I forgot to do here too. This petal is on top of this petal. I'm going to put the shadow behind that petal. That makes that pop out. Blend it with the red. It's a weird thing how that happens. You use the opposite color. If this were a yellow petal, I would use purple to add the shadow. Always, if you use the complementary color, it just looks more natural as a shadow. So now I'm doing the same thing here, blending it all out. I have where the petal that's in front, really crisping up that edge so it pops up, and blend that shadow underneath to the petal behind it. Go right up to this petal is emerging from the center, so go up into the center. I want to add a little bit more shadow, separate this orb from the petal, so bring that in. There we go. Okay, back to blending. My arm always gets a good workout when I do these videos because the only thing I paint, I mean, the only thing I normally do up right here is painting. Oil pastel, typically I do flat. So if you're doing flat, it will probably be easier for you. You won't feel again, this is good though. I'm getting a workout of my arm. I wish I were ambidextrous. I can do both arms a little bit, but not really that well. So switch over to this one. That would actually, oh look, it's too bad. It's a good way to get if you're right-handed, to get your left arm into the mix. I can't draw with my left hand, but obviously coloring is a little bit easier with the left hand than drawing with the left hand. All right, I might come back to that. It's good to kind of switch over. Now I'm switching to green. I'm doing the same thing. Now I used green for my veins, so I'm going to use red for my veins in the green. You don't have to press too hard, just it helps darken it. And if you just use a dark green, that would work. But color theory wise, this works better with nature, the way our eyes perceive something. Right now, I'm going to go back and do something color over the dark green. This is where you're gonna, this is negative space. The space behind the petal, the red petals is my negative space. I'm gonna clean that up with my green. And that makes the shapes pop out. Defines your red petals. And the last layer of negative space, the space behind an object you're drawing, is going to be the background, which I use gold paint for here. You can choose your choice what you want for the background. Gold I thought was just more holiday-ish. I'm going to use the same color that's in here, which works well with the color composition. That's going to be my background color. That unifies everything because it's in there. It's already in there. Like if you wanted to make it very colorful, you can use blue or purple. I like to keep it sort of. I like to coordinate my colors. Just put it that way. Have the palette be coordinated. So I'm going to put that gold as my background color. Same thing. Follow the direction of your veins, the shape of your veins. That'll dictate your stroke. Clean up your back of your edges. Now I'm just being careful because my white flower is going to be there. So when I do the color here, coloring around it so that I don't cover it. That at the end of the world because again, you can move it around a little bit with the oil pastel, cover itself, but I make it harder for myself. And that's why I sketched it out in oil pastel to begin with. Using similar colors throughout helps create unity. Unity is one of the 7 principles of art and design. Because even though the eye, I mean, people won't say, oh my gosh, she used green in the flowers. People don't notice that, but it's there. And it creates that kind of, again, that unity where everything works together. Nothing is jarring. And that's how nature is. And we are doing something that is in nature, poinsettias, to grow nature. So we're using that principle of art and design to make sure we have unity. All right, that's my last dark leaf. And then the same thing I did with the red. I'm gonna just blend it with the color that I outlined it, which is this lighter green. That helps blend it. Pulls everything together, make sure there's no white. Adds another layer of interest. It's all layering. It's kind of, we're trying to make it look like paint, like it's painted, which oil pastel lets us do. And you can always add touch up at the end. I'm going to do it with the white throughout just to add some shine. Okay. Now I'm using, well, before I do, in this case, I did the yellow after. I want to get a sense of where I'm going to put the yellow here first. So I'm putting in my yellow balls here now. Same process. Capture that purple to make that yellow really give it the 3D effect I want. over that with yellow. And I'm going to use this white again to put that little shine in there. And then the veins on this, I'm gonna make them pink. Now the opposite of white, the complement of white is black. We're not going to use black for this. We can use a touch of green. Artists, well, especially painters, I mean, there are exceptions. We use black sparingly. So one color you don't really see in nature. They are going to be on the pink side, these white petals, which would justify having the veins in a slightly green tint. And that again adds the unity. Some white, there's pink already there from when I sketched it, so I'm using that, blending that in. I am now cleaning my oil pastel on paper because there's some blue on it. And now I'm going to go back over. First, I'm mixing in the pink. And this will pop out very clearly when I add the background color in. But I'm covering it pretty well. Some areas of pink so that I can see it better. And so that you can see it better. And then go back over the slide. Just lightly adding this, sprinkling this in like it's an ingredient in a pot. And then my white's going to be my whisk. I'm literally whisking it. I don't know if anybody cooks or bakes. Same rules about following the direction of the curve of the leaf or vein or a petal. The curve of what you're coloring determines your stroke. Switch. I can actually see it better too. That hand's blocking it. the petals behind it. I mean, the leaves behind it. Sorry, they're just so similar that they look, I mean, I'm confused. And now I'm cleaning up my edges here, the shape of the white petals. One, the petal on the other side. Get that while I'm doing this. To find this petal anyway, so it's good to have that there. The veins with red. The leaves here are the same color. You can make them lighter green if you want. I haven't seen poinsettia leaves that are different colors from each other. I have seen the flowers that are. But I've only seen white. I've seen white, pink, and red poinsettia flowers. And time to peel my oil pastel. They go, they wear down pretty quickly. You can actually see it being used. Where it hits a petal, I'm cleaning up the edges. This shape in here. Mm. Last but not least, this one. Don't forget the green that we started with. to blend it. Make sure we cover the white. Some things over here. So this looks complete. My apartment's pretty warm, so these oil pastels are smoothly, seamlessly gliding on the paper. If you're in a colder area and this is not happening and it's kind of crumbly, if you're using oil pastels, you just want to go like this and run between your hand. If they warm up, and then they'll be nice and silky when they go on the paper. Nothing worse than a cold oil pastel and trying to draw with it. Okay. Now looking at this, I want to define, I'm using orange. I want to define these more. And then I'm going to go back and do purple and really make them pop. They pop out more here. There's more contrast. Here, the white's similar to the yellow, similar to the pink. Now I can go back with my yellow, blend that a little bit. Now I'm going to do the background, but one thing I want to do first is just add some shine to the leaves on the top part. So I'm just going in with my white, taking with the petals, just on the top where the light would hit those petals. One side of the vein that sticks out by the light side, that makes it look three-dimensional. Same thing with the leaf, because the leaf also takes light the same way, just on green. Doesn't take a lot to make something look 3D. Especially with oil pastel. It's pretty simple. You take that, mimicking the gold there, you choose whatever you want for your background color. Cleaning up, I don't want scrumbly, messy edges for those flowers. I want them to look like they're popping out. So go right up, push your edge right up against there, the edge of the oil pastel right up against the edge. Now, a trick I always teach my art students, if I really want that edge of the gold background to pop against the green, I would get the opposite of red, which is green, and just right up against it, pop a little bit of line of that green. It automatically creates contrast and makes that edge pop off, and then you blend it with the color that I have for the background. Just blend it, push it right in so it looks like nobody knows that that's what you did. And then when you get to the green, the leaf, it's the opposite. You're going to use red. So everywhere you have, I'm just going to put the golden first everywhere. And then I will put the red wherever the green is and the green wherever the red is and then blend it. That's the trick. Let's just get the, here you can use whatever kind of stroke you want. There's no shape in the background, it's just background. And then I would use something else to blend it anyway, so I have no lines showing, white or whatever you want. Peach, get it filled in. Yes, you're going to be using a lot of your oil pastel, the background. This up. There's a little bit more contrast between the green and this yellow orange because green and orange are opposite, green and red are opposite. So this color that I happen to be using, this ochre color, is going to give me contrast, but I want more than even that gave me. So I'm going to put some red there after I get the whole background in. Make these nice crisp edges. And that white pops off out more now. I'm drawing using my negative space. All the sketch lines, I'm going to cover them here. Find my petal shape here. Leaf and petal emerge at the background. To peel. Bits here. Clean this up. Get your shapes back in, define them. I read green areas to help that pop out. Just pops out a little bit more. I'm not pressing hard here when I'm doing this. I'm just blending it. Mhm. Green, blend the red areas just a little bit. The time that I have left, I'm using just this peachy color to blend. It's kind of neutral, pulls it all together. You can also use the same color that you started with, but I always like to add another color. It just makes it more, jewel-like. It's probably the best way I can describe it. Painterly-like. Pulls everything together. So while I'm finishing up, does anyone have questions, or did anyone work along so that they can kind of share any experience they had or issues?
Susan said thank you. She had to jump off early, and a couple of other people did too. So I don't know about at the library, Z.
If there were any children who
What are you
participated.
asking about the library?
If you had anything to show, any
No, people are
creation.
shy.
Okay.
Are there any children who made some flowers that want to share? Not
We're
today?
all having a lot of fun here. There's 8 of us, but nobody wants to share, and that's okay.
Okay. Well, as long as they've done something and learned something, I'm happy. I'm almost done with this. I'm going to sign it. Oil pastel, holiday poinsettias. Is there a poinsettia plant there by any chance? In the library? I don't have one here. Actually, I would have pulled it out. All right, now I'm going to sign it. And this is a good spot right over here. I will sign it with red. And today is 12/10/24. And they're my poinsettias. Right?